Lawyers for convicted mobster John Gotti are already at work on the appeal of yesterday's murder and racketeering conviction. Federal prosecutors say this is not the end of the mafia, but it is a blow to organized crime. They called him the Teflon Don because the feds could not get the charges to stick. But after 6 years and 3 acquittals, John Gotti is going down.
The Teflon is gone. The Don is covered with Velcro, and every charge in the indictment stuck.
This case stuck because of the unprecedented testimony of this man, Gotti's top lieutenant, Sammy the Bull Gravano, the first mobster to break the blood oath and tell the tales of murder and corruption. He described in graphic detail how Gotti ordered executions to climb to the top of the Gambino crime family. And the government also had secret tapes showing Gotti as a ruthless crime boss. But Gotti's lawyers say he did not get a fair trial. Boston defense attorney Joe Bolero, who represented Ilario Zanino in the famous Angiulo mob trials, agrees.
There seems to be no question about the fact that Mr. Gotti did not get a fair trial. Particularly the remarks of the prosecutor during the course of his summation to suggest to that jury that they should be afraid of the defendant sitting there is an atrocious statement for a prosecutor to make.
So on that alone, you feel that he's got the ground?
On that alone, but there certainly is much more.
John Gotti is a very determined man. He feels that he did not get a fair trial. He feels that he has been the object of some persecution, and if anything, this adversity only makes him stronger.
My father is the last of the Mohicans. They don't make men like him anymore, and they never will.
Sammy the Bull Gravano is expected to testify against other reputed mobsters. Gotti will be sentenced on June 23rd. He faces life in prison. Excuse me. Campaign 92, and so far Alaskan voters are sending the Democratic presidential candidates the strongest message yet. They prefer Mr. Undecided. In yesterday's presidential caucuses in Alaska, 36% of the voters were undecided. Jerry Brown received some northern exposure with 33%, as Clinton trailed with 30%. Meanwhile, with the New York State primary just days away, both candidates are having a tough time in the Big Apple. As Brown and Clinton wrap up their week-long campaigning in New York City, hostile moments seem to follow them.
Can I finish my point?
Qualify yourself to your community. No. And you're a phony, and you're dishonest, and you misrepresented yourself. This is an example of what is wrong with American politics. Dishonest guy, dude. Now, wait a minute. If you will hush, I'll talk to you about it.
After a brief stop in Buffalo, New York, Clinton is heading to Wisconsin, where primaries will also be held on Tuesday. Brown is chasing the student vote today with a visit at Syracuse University. Still ahead, some health news today, a breakthrough that could save lives, a new way to detect colon cancer. Also, can you imagine someone telling you that you've got AIDS just to get your attention? It happened. We'll tell you about it. And Michelle has the forecast for a shorter than usual weekend.
Well, once again, we miss out on the snowfall. This time around, Clipper heads to our south. That leaves us with a relatively tranquil weekend. And that's a switch. I'll have the details when we return. Stay tuned.
I was seeing my parents off, and I realized...
Dad, what do you got in here? Gardening equipment?
They've planned their retirement for a long time.
Common sense says the time to plan for your future is today.
One day, it's going to be our turn.
And Fidelity Investments, America's largest mutual fund company, can help you begin.
Debbie?
One day, Jeff sat down to figure out how much we'll have for retirement.
How's it going, Einstein?
Very funny. Take a look at
I thought we were doing a pretty good job. At this rate, we'll never retire.
Over 2 million Americans trust their retirement savings to Fidelity with choices like Magellan Fund. Magellan's approach to stock investing has made it the #1 performing mutual fund for the past 15-year period. So call Fidelity now for this free booklet, a common sense guide to planning for retirement. You'll also receive everything you need to take your first step. Call 1-800-453-8900. Fidelity Investments. Common sense. Uncommon results.
If you or someone you love has been seriously injured in a car or motorcycle accident, the results can be devastating. At times like these, you need an attorney. Call the Injury Helpline. Talk to an attorney near you for free, one who will explain your legal rights and costs. There are no attorney fees unless you receive payment for your injuries. The insurance companies have attorneys working hard on their side, and so should you. Call 1-800-848-5001.
Now, it's Boston Scandal's Spring Free-for-All to feed the homeless. And this week only, buy this glove-soft cream leather sofa and love seat, a $3,298 value, now only $19.99. Bring a canned food item to feed the homeless and get the matching chair, a $12.99 value, free. Another can gets you free airfare for 2 round trip to Hawaii. It's a Spring Free-for-All to feed the homeless, and it's only at Boston Scandals. We're changing the way New England buys furniture.
Health news this noon, a first-of-its-kind test to detect colon and rectal cancers. Researchers at Johns Hopkins University say they've discovered the genes associated with the deadly cancers and can now detect the disease at its earliest stages by searching for the genes in a patient's stool. Colon and rectal cancers are among the most lethal cancers and will kill an estimated 58,000 Americans this year. What would you do if you received a letter telling you you have AIDS? That's what happened to about 5,000 Rhode Islanders. The letter included a statement that may have mistakenly led some people to think they have tested positive for the AIDS virus. Officials at Project AIDS apologized, saying it was part of a fundraising event.
These people's awareness. Well, the body of the letter was written by someone living with HIV in hopes of raising people's awareness and consciousness of what it feels like to be living with HIV or AIDS.
We all have blood drawn for one reason or another. I did recently just at a regular checkup. I don't think anyone would say, oh, come on. I think your first natural human reaction would be, oh, my God.
Rhode Island Project AIDS reports more than 400 people have signed up for its Walk for Life as a result of that letter. Emotions continue to run high in the bitter foster care dispute between Lynn Sanborn and the Department of Social Services. The Hubbardston woman is fighting for the return of her foster son, Mikey. And last night, the CBS series Street Stories brought the story to a national audience. The program showed the emotional reunion of Mikey and his foster family of 8 years. The 11-year-old scrawls on the blackboard, "I want to come home." But DSS removed Mikey from the Sanborn home without explanation last year, and now the agency claims that Lynn Sanborn hit and cursed at 2 foster children.
Frankly, the message on the blackboard, as dramatic though it was and as emotionally grabbing as it was, is not consistent with what he's been telling people before that.
I've kicked their credibility. Why not kick my credibility back?
Mikey is currently in another foster home somewhere in the Worcester area. Meanwhile, calls for reform within the DSS are now being heard on Beacon Hill. The MBTA has called in a federal task force to review the day-to-day operations of the T. This announcement comes after the 3rd accident in less than a week involving injuries. Yesterday, 8 people were hurt when 2 Green Line trains collided inside the Kenmore Square T station. And on Tuesday, 7 people were injured when 2 trains crashed near the Cedar Grove stop on the Red Line. Last Saturday, 3 people were hurt in Cambridge when their cars were hit by a bus. A bit of history in the making for the Boston Police Department today. At ceremonies this morning, 25 people became department captains, including 2 women, the first ever to achieve that rank. Because of lawsuits over promotions and political infighting, it's been 17 years since anyone has reached the captain's position, the highest civil service rank on the force. The appointments are part of the ongoing police shakeup in the wake of the critical St. Clair Commission report. When we come back, Michelle Michaels tells us whether it will be an indoor or outdoor kind of weekend. Weather's next. Stay with us, please.
Come join the good times at Walt Disney's World on Ice. Take off on a magical journey to Neverland as the classic tale of Peter Pan comes to life like never before. Mickey and Minnie will be there, Donald and Daisy too. There will be daring adventure with the Rescue Rangers, the dastardly deeds of the evil Captain Hook, and of course, you know who. Set your sights on adventure and good times and bring the whole family to Walt Disney's World on Ice. Now playing through April 5th at the Centrum. Tickets on sale now at the box office and all Ticketmaster outlets.
That's nice, dear. I'll never find another Roger.
Knock on wood.
How can you two sit there eating breadsticks? Roger was one of a kind. You see the Stelladoro breadstick? That's one of a kind. Light, crunchy, and no cholesterol.
You can never say that about Roger.
Of course, there's Jojo, Spike, Killer.
Stelladoro breadsticks. We bake like nobody else bakes.
An independent survey. On March 3rd, DataQuest Investigation surveyed 101 identical items at Leechmere and Fredder. The results? Fredder's everyday prices were lower than Lechmere on 85% of the items surveyed. Like this Sony cassette deck, Fredder's price was $22 less. And this GE refrigerator, Fredder's price was $52 less. The conclusion, if you want Fredder prices, you've got to go to Fredder.
Last month, News 7 brought you a series of special reports helping parents deal with the many challenges our children face today. Because so many families found the series insightful, we've decided to take it one step further. Margie Reedy and the News 7 team present a conclusive one-hour follow-up, raising more questions, providing more answers. What every parent needs to know. The Primetime Special. Tonight at 9, only on Channel 7.
Well, not a moment too soon. Here comes the weekend. And Michelle is here to tell us what we can expect.
Well, I have a little poem for you. You need to fill in the blank, though.
Oh,
All right. Fall back. What comes to mind?
Oh, spring ahead.
Of course. There you have it. Daylight savings time begins this weekend at 2 o'clock Sunday morning. Change all your clocks ahead by about 1 hour. So Mark loses 1 hour of sleep, but we do gain plenty of sunlight as we head into spring. Right now, it is about 43 degrees outside. The dew point is 18. Winds are out of the northwest, gusting up to 30 miles per hour. Now, the barometric pressure has fallen slightly in the course of the last hour, but it's generally running steady throughout the day, and there will be improvement as far as cloud cover goes. A lot of clouds still lingering across northern sections of New England, but they will continue to lift off to the northeast throughout the course of the afternoon. So you can see the downslope effect taking into play here, some clearing across the coastal plain of New England, but still lots of clouds across northern sections of New England. Area of low pressure now heading up towards the Canadian Maritimes, spread a little bit of light snowfall through Caribou, as well as Presque Isle, as well as Bar Harbor, Maine, but really not as intense a storm as we had initially anticipated. Still back behind that, an upper-level trough still spreading some light snowfall into western sections of New York. This entire system is going to lift off to the northeast, leaving us with those brisk northwesterly winds throughout today. Temperatures today in the mid-40s. Some inland spots could get up to around 50 degrees. Now, tomorrow we do have that clipper to deal with, but it looks like the atmosphere is not going to be able to recover enough to make this into a snowstorm for us. Instead, there'll be a narrow band of snow showers through Williamsport and back into Cleveland, Ohio, and then the storm will bottom out once it hits down into the Atlantic and really become a significant weather maker. For us, however, just some clouds around. Then the real warmth heads our way by the beginning of next week. Spring warmth is here. By Monday, plenty of sunshine, and temperatures will be in the 50s. But still, we have to get through the weekend. It will be generally tranquil, with today mixture of sun and clouds, easy enough for me to say, highs in the mid-40s. Gusty northwesterly winds, 15 to 30 miles per hour. For tonight, mostly clear, quite chilly, 23 in the outlying suburbs and to the north, and 33 here in town. For tomorrow, becoming partly sunny with thicker clouds to the south associated with that clipper. And as we go into Sunday, partly sunny, more clouds to the north, and still chilly. The real warmth comes our way on Monday. A few showers perhaps late on Tuesday night, but Monday and Tuesday should be some nice days to enjoy. And don't forget about that time change.
Okay, thank you.
It'd get tricky.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we have made it to Friday. How about treating yourself to an old favorite with a new twist? Today, Mr. Food serves up a unique way of preparing potatoes that will add a little spice to your spuds.
We hear potato salad, and we immediately think picnic. But there's a different kind of potato salad that can be an all-year-round picnic for us. And yes, it uses any brands at all. It's 3 pounds of small red or white potatoes, you know, the real little ones, sometimes called creamers. Boil them about 20 minutes or so, just till they're tender but not mushy. Drain them, cut them in half, and toss them into this mixture that we threw together right in a 9x13 baking dish. It's 1/3 cup of olive oil, 2 tablespoons each of lemon juice and white wine vinegar, 2 teaspoons each of dill weed and parsley, a teaspoon each of grated lemon peel and crushed garlic, a 1/2 teaspoon each of seasoned salt and pepper, and 1/4 teaspoon of hot pepper sauce. Now, we let them sit that way right on the counter for about an hour or so. We get dressed, we get ready for our company, and in the meantime, those flavors are soaking in. Now, about a half hour before we want them, we throw them into a 375-degree oven, 20-30 minutes, then sprinkle on 1.5 cups of a shredded cheddar cheese, any brands. Give it another 5 minutes in the oven to get melty, and any picnic is a meal, and any meal is a picnic.
And ooh, it's so good. If you would like a copy of any of Mr. Food's recipes, just send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Mr. Food, care of WHDH TV, 7 Bullfinch Place, Boston, 02114. Still to come, just days after winning an Academy Award, a local filmmaker is stirring up more than just some media attention. Lifestyles reporter Sarah Edwards has the story when we come back.
I was going over my bank statement, and I saw that my rates had never been so low. This is all I'm earning?
Common sense says you can't always depend on yesterday's solutions.
You've got to be kidding.
Fidelity Investments, America's largest mutual fund company, has the income opportunities you may want.
So we're talking investments.
The interest rates I used to get, they're just not there anymore.
Wondering how safe this one or that one is.
But now you want something solid. Who knows? There's got to be something out there.
Sometimes the answer's a lot closer than you think.
Fidelity offers you high current yields with the credit safety of U.S. government securities, higher than you may be earning in the bank, with no sales charge. That's why over 2 million people trust Fidelity to help their money earn more. So call Fidelity now for this free booklet, a common sense guide to investing for income. You'll also receive everything you need to start. Call Fidelity now at 1-800-426-8600. Fidelity Investments. Common sense, uncommon results.
Travel Education Center gets you going places.
When I graduate, I'm going to travel as much as I possibly can, and I'm also going to try and help people really fulfill their dream vacation.
At Travel Education Center, you'll get the skills you need to become a travel professional. Thousands of graduates have been hired by travel agencies, airlines, hotels, and car rental companies. Call 1-800-945-2220.
Briefly in sports, the Celtics travel to Indiana tonight, where they hope the momentum of their 7-game winning streak will propel them past the Pacers, who, by the way, are running a streak of their own, a 6-game losing streak. Tonight here on Channel 7, we have a special program for everyone who cares about kids and raising our next generation. It's What Every Parent Needs to Know. At 9 o'clock, Margie Reedy and the News 7 team talk with children, parents, and experts about everything from sex, drugs, and peer pressure to athletic achievement. And here's a preview.
Good slam dunk not only feels great, you get applause and admiration from parents and peers. In sports, you can find self-respect, learn from your mistakes, and discover the value of being a team player.
And of course, it's those payoffs that are important because, after all, most kids aren't going to make it to the pros.
Right, Margie. When you're playing in the major leagues, winning may be the only thing, but with kids, other goals are far more important. Parents must learn that the game's the thing, not just the victory, if their kids are to avoid burning out at an early age.
Caring parents do so much for our kids. We worry so much if they're denied a toy or something that they want. Well, a child who has everything will appreciate nothing.
And kids who feel entitled to everything may not let any sort of rules get in their way.
They don't care about being honest. All they care about is having money. If they have to lie, however they have to get it, they don't care as long as they get it.
It's good to have like a lot of money and everything, but if you're not if you're not happy with it, then what good is it?
Helping kids find out what's really important in life. Part of What Every Parent Needs to Know. That's tonight at 9 right here on Channel 7. Hope you'll join us for this special program. Finally, Monday night's Academy Award winners are still basking in Oscar's golden glow. For many, the big win will provide a big career boost. Our lifestyle reporter Sarah Edwards tells us that a local winner is already gaining major media attention and stirring up controversy.
I want to share this wonderful honor tonight with INFACT, the national organization that is campaigning to get General Electric and all other companies out of the deadly nuclear weapons industry. Filmmaker Deborah Chasnoff's political message stirred up this year's relatively low-key Academy Awards show, but that was nothing compared to the reaction the 28-minute film set off for the Boston-based executive producers.
We've had supporters calling from all over the world, the United States, of course, Canada, Europe in particular, congratulating us, claiming the victory for themselves, because this really was a victory for all of our supporters.
Elaine Lammy heads up In Fact, a grassroots organization that campaigns against what they term corporate transgressions, and they've targeted General Electric's nuclear weapons production in the film Deadly Deception.
People helping people. And GE is part of everything we do.
Somebody somewhere sat down and said, let's keep lying to them and keep saying it over and over, and they'll believe it.
The film, which took a year to make, recounts stories of people who live downwind of General Electric's nuclear plants, like the Hanford Nuclear Reservation in Washington. Farmers like Tom Bailey say environmental contamination caused deformities in animals and people.
Then I began losing my hair and then had to start wearing a wig, and have since lost 2 babies through miscarriage and stillbirth.
We won the Academy Award, I think, because people are calling for a change, and they don't want GE to continue to have its say over what everybody else wants. This film captures that.
As for General Electric, a spokesman from the company's headquarters in Fairfield, Connecticut, told me that the movie is, quote, a litany of allegations and propaganda, and that they will not address point by point what they consider to be falsehoods in the film. By the way, Deadly Deception will be shown in Boston at the Coolidge Corner Theater April 9th at 7:30 p.m. Sarah Edwards, News 7.
That wraps it up for this edition of News 7 at noon. Along with Michelle Michaels, I'm Mark Weil in for Lester Strong. Thanks for joining us, and we'll have all the day's news for you at 5:30 and 6 o'clock. And don't forget to spring ahead with that clock tomorrow before you go to bed. Bye-bye.
This is a Channel 7 editorial. The opinions expressed are those of the WHDH TV Editorial Committee. Here's Channel 7 Vice President and General Manager Bruce Marson.
Massachusetts auto insurance is heading for reform again. Right now, Beacon Hill is listening to 2 proposals and trying to figure out which reform package best serves the driving consumer. One proposal is from the Weld administration. They want to make the no-fault system tougher by not allowing drivers in accidents to sue for pain and suffering, except in very specific cases, such as permanent disfigurement. The Weld bill proposes to introduce a verbal threshold to replace the current $2,000 monetary threshold. They believe that the current monetary threshold has become a target for fraud and exaggerated claims. On the other side of the debate is the Massachusetts trial attorneys, who would like to see our state return to a tort system where anyone involved in an auto accident can sue for damages. They argue that no-fault insurance just doesn't work. The WHDH editorial board sat down with both parties and listened to their ideas. Each bill has merit, but we don't believe either proposal is going to solve the key problems, high insurance costs, and an epidemic of fraudulent claims. Our state has the second highest insurance rates in the country, and we are the most regulated state in the country. We have an abysmal driver safety record, with drivers filing more accident claims than any other state. And some 43% of the money paid out goes to fraudulent insurance claims. The Insurance Commission and the trial lawyers must go back to the drawing board, and along with the insurance industry, must find ways to make the premiums more reasonable and stamp out fraud. I'm Bruce Marson, and would like to hear from you.